Mr. Tsipras.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. President, esteemed members, it's a great honour for me to be able to address the Democratic Forum, the greatest democratic forum in Europe. Thank you for this invitation. It's an honour to be able to address the directly elected representatives of the peoples of Europe at a crucial time, both for my country, my own country of Greece, and indeed a crucial time for the Eurozone and for the European Union as a whole. I find myself here only a few days after the resounding verdict of the Greek people, after a decision which we took to give the floor directly, to ask the Greek people directly for their views and to be an active part of the negotiations affecting their own future. A few days after this verdict, we have now been given a mandate to redouble our efforts in order to get a socially just and economically sustainable solution to the Greek problem without repeating the mistakes of the past, which condemned the Greek economy to a period of never-ending and an impasse of austerity, which trapped our economy in a recessionary vicious circle. The courageous response by the Greek people at a time when there were such pressures with the banks closing, with the campaigns in the media terrorizing them into feeling that no meant an end to talks with Europe, an end to negotiations with Europe. I think that they stood up and were counted. This was a voice in favour of democracy, and we have to listen to what they said. As I was saying, this was a courageous choice by the Greek people, and this is not a decision of breaking off negotiations with Europe. It's one of going back. It's a return to the informing principles, the founding principles of European unification. At the start of democracy and of solidarity, going back to mutual respect and going back to equality, it is a crystal clear message. This is a crystal clear message that Europe, our common European edifice, Europe and the European Union, will either be democratic or it will have immense difficulties in surviving under the current challenging circumstances. These ongoing negotiations between the Greek government and its partners are aimed to reconfirm the dual forms of respect in Europe, both for the ground rules of the European Union and also full respect for the democratic choice of our peoples. My government, I myself personally, and our government came to power, took over government 5.5 months ago. However, the bailout programs, the programs, have been in force for the past 5.5 years. And I fully assume this responsibility for what has happened in the course of these 5.5 months. However, I think that we must all, if we're being sincere, recognise that the basic responsibility for the impasse which the Greek economy currently finds itself in, and the impasse which overall Europe finds itself in with the choices which have been made, don't just concern the past 5.5 months. They also extend back over 5.5 years with the implementation of programs which have not helped Europe to get out of the crisis it faces. And let me assure the House that, quite apart from the crisis we have we will continue with our reform undertaking. But let's not forget the fact that for the past 5 years, the Greek people has made a tremendous effort for adjustment, a very harsh and difficult process of adjustment. But this has exhausted the resilience and the patience of the Greek people. And this is not just something which has been confined to Greece. Other countries have, we respect the sacrifices and the efforts they've made, the difficult decisions the governments have taken in other countries as well. In many European countries, austerity programs have been put into effect. However, nowhere have those programs been so harsh and so long-lasting as in Greece. And it's no exaggeration to say that my country has, over the past 5 years, been transformed into an austerity laboratory. However, this experiment, I think all of us have to accept, has not been a success. Over these 5 years, we have seen a skyrocketing of poverty. Unemployment has soared. Social marginalization has increased, as has the public debt, which is now 180% of GDP. And today, the majority of the Greek people, quite apart from our own assessment, this is the simple fact which we have to face and accept. The majority of the Greek people feels that they have no other choice other than to demand that they be given a way out of this impasse and this dead end. They have expressed this in the most direct democratic way possible, and we have to implement that decision and that verdict. We demand an agreement with our neighbours, but one which gives us a sign that we are, on a long-lasting basis, exiting from the crisis, which will demonstrate to us that there is light at the end of the tunnel. An agreement which will bring about the credible and necessary reforms. That is clearly necessary, but we have to recognize that over the past 5.5 years, reforms have been put into a place which have been a burden on what pensioners can take, what employers can put up with, what they can stand, and ordinary citizens. We need policies of redistribution are necessary for the middle class, for the working class, and we must have a basis on which we can proceed in a spirit of sustainable development. The proposal we have made to the institution, to our partners, are ones which involve credible reforms with an acceptable degree of burden sharing, which does not bring recessionary effects with it. We need to ensure the medium-term funding of our country with a development and growth programme, because we have to put on the table an agenda for growth, because otherwise there is no way we're going to exit from this crisis. And our prime objective must be to combat unemployment and to encourage entrepreneurship. And clearly our proposal also contains the demand for an immediate undertaking that we will see genuine dialogue, a genuine negotiation in order to get an answer to the question of the sustainability of public debt. And we cannot have any taboo subjects. We must be able to look reality in the face and find solutions to the real problems, however difficult those solutions may be in practice. Our proposal has been submitted. It's one which meets those requirements. It's been put to the Eurogroup at the summit which we had yesterday of the Eurozone. And today we're working with the support arrangements. In the next 2 or 3 days, we have undertaken to bring forward concrete proposals in detail. And I'm confident that in the next few days we will be able to meet the obligations of this crucial time in the best interests of Greece and also for the Eurozone. And can I say this is not just the economic, it's also in the best interest geopolitically of the European Union. And let me be crystal clear in this area. The proposals by the Greek government for the funding of its obligations and for the restructuring of its debt are not designed to provide an extra burden for European taxpayers. The monies which have been afforded to Greece, which have been given to Greece, never trickled down to the Greek people. This is money which was given in order to save the Greek and European banks, but they never trickled down to the ordinary Greek man and woman. And in addition, starting in August of 2014, we have got to disperse a tranche under the bailout, which continued until the 30th of June, repayments of 7.2 billion. And it was not our government which was in power from August of 2014 until 2014 to 2015. The fact is that the programme has not been implemented. The programme was not implemented then, not because at the time there was the ideological circumstance that we currently have. It was because the programme then and the programme now did not have social acceptance. It's not sufficient for it to be right. It's got to be workable. It's got to have the public support and acceptance. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members, over the same period, Greece has been involved in negotiations because of that 7.2 billion in disbursements. We also had the duty, we're under an obligation to pay to the same institutions which provided the finance, repayments of 17.5 billion euros. And that was money which was taken from the resources of the Greek people. Esteemed members, despite all that I have said, I'm not one of those politicians who claim that those responsible for the woes of Greece are the wicked foreigners. Greece has got to the verge of bankruptcy because for many, many years, the governments of Greece have been creating a clientelist government. They have strengthened and enhanced corruption. They have created and nurtured a nexus between political and economic power. They have allowed tax evasion to run riot, and it's now rife. In accordance with a survey by Credit Suisse, 10% of Greeks currently have 56% of the national wealth, and 10% in a time of austerity. They have not shared, they're not borne their share of the pressure. This is major injustice, and the programs of the bailout programs and the MOUs, the programs, have not made things better. On the contrary, they have made things worse. They were supposed to bring about reforms, but those reforms have not improved the tax collecting mechanisms, which collapsed under the excessive zeal of enlightened and indeed terrified national officials. None of the reforms has helped when it comes to the nexus between the political establishment, the oligarchs and the banks in that three-sided ring. None of the reforms have improved the functioning and the efficiency of the mechanisms of state, which has now become inured to working in the selfish interests of vested interests rather than the common weal and the common good. These proposals have now been put on the table. Our proposals, they are based on genuine reforms whose purpose is to change the face of Greece. These are reforms which previous governments in the old political regime did not want to put in place. They did not want these changes to take place in Greece. That was not the purpose of the bailouts. Effectively tackling the oligarchy and the cartel of vested interests. We have now got to turn the page of that. The way that national finances and unemployment and the labour market are covered, we must now get a handle on developments in those two areas. We must be able to implement the priorities of our government and get traction on those difficulties. And those priorities are ones we are going to look at with our partners. Today we come with a strong mandate from the Greek people, and we are determined not to have a clash with Europe, but to tackle head-on the establishments in our country and to change the mindsets which have taken us and taken the Eurozone down. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe finds itself at a crucial crossroads. What we now call the Greek crisis is only a manifestation of the overall inability of the Eurozone to find a lasting solution to the self-fueling debt crisis. And what we now need is a European, this is not exclusively a Greek problem, this is a European problem. And European problems require European solutions. European history is a history of conflict, but conflict leading to compromise. And it's also a history of convergence and of enlargements. It is a history of unity and not divisions. And this is why we talk about a united Europe and let us not allow it to become a divided Europe. At this time, we are called upon to produce a productive and fair compromise which will avoid a break-off in negotiations. And this is in line with the traditions of the European Union. All of us have taken the measure of the situation, and I believe that together we can rise to this historical challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.